Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Kwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us His truth. And shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word and truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect, tabernacle of David, to the Akwat that are listening, learning, being a pillar of rest, 144,001 third, the hopeful elect of Israel. I am the brother Yashawan. All right, so what's going on in the run up to the Battle of Armageddon? Let's say that. I'm going to read maybe only two precepts in this lesson, all right, because that's all is needed. I mean, we can get several, but we're just going to keep it succinct. Look that word up. Sirach 5 and 15. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or in a small. Okay? Meaning what? Hey, you got to know everything. You got to be up on everything. Geopolitics, the economy, finance, all right? Weather, you gotta know about everything and how things work and how things are being planned. For example, this guy, let's see, Donald T. Rump, right? Let's see, not that. I was looking for, wait, let me see. Slovakia. Let me see if I can find it. No. I was looking for Donald Trump calls for death penalty and that word right there. And I didn't really get anything. I got this. This is what I got. All right. Trump calls for death penalty, hate crimes 4 years ago. See that hate crime? Now they're calling it this. All right. But see how they're sneaking it in there? We have to bring back the death penalty. About what? Death penalty for what? Drug dealers, to combat opioids, for drugs, right? For killing cops, Othal Wallace. They're going to bring that out, right? They're going to pop up. Othal Wallace is suddenly going to pop up. They're going to call him a BHI. Okay, so that one's in the pipeline. This is what they're planning. Okay? Wow. Okay, so the point I'm making here, this guy is a very big part of the play. This is Nero. Nero Caesar. Okay? And what he's about to do, he's playing his role perfectly because he's going to be the one that spake as a dragon. He's speaking as a dragon right now, talking about this, the death penalty, the guillotine, the firing squad, okay? That's part of it, okay? Now, how do we get to this word over here? Well, this word brings in what? It brings in the Battle of Armageddon, which is going on over there right now in the Middle East. Okay? This word plays a very important part, right, in this devil's plan for trying to take the prophet, really trying to come after us and murder the men of the Lord, right? Fresh off the street if they could. All right, this is part of the plan. But the plan isn't working. See, how do you get this, right? How do you do an end run on the men of the Lord, the prophets, on the highways and the byways, right? How do you do an end run on them without letting nobody know? Nobody being none the wiser, right? Well, you got to set this word up. You got to weaponize it, right? Without knowing who you're going to train, right, your fiery darts on. But your fiery darts, right, are going after he that rebuketh in the gate. See, we already understand the plan. We know the plan. We know your plan. You just came up with it, right? You got it compartmentalized and everything, but we already know it. So, the climate. See, the point I'm making is 6 years ago, when you said this, everybody wasn't mad at them like they are right now. Okay? The jig is up right now. Okay? And this guy is going to explain it. All right? What are we dealing with right now? We're dealing with, suddenly, this is the talk of Israel, the death penalty for this word, right? What else? This ridiculous mess. Look at this. This shows you how desperate they are. News alert, college can't even call them that. Anti-Amalekite agitators could be sent to Gaza under new House GOP. You sure are getting desperate. This is desperation. Huh? So when the situations, right, if you can call them that, continue to become more and more out of this world, like this right here, anti-Israel agitators could be sent to Gaza. And you know what they're calling it? Community service. If you're convicted of whatever, they'll send you to Gaza as community service. That is letting you know, forthright, how desperate they are. Okay? That and this, with your boy Trump, this. So this is the end goal. This is the end run plan that they have. But let's watch this. Okay? We might watch all 12 minutes of it because this is just really, really good. And if you watch these comments, if you look at these comments, damn near all of them say this. This guy needs to address Congress. He's 100% right. Right? One after another. You're a good teacher, Teacher Bolson. I am an African American woman, and I hear you, brother. You know what she's saying? The Spirit identifies with the Spirit that we are the children of Israel. She's seeing a speckled bird right here. When this guy starts talking, clearly a speckled bird. Inflection, everything he's saying. Where do we go? Okay, what is his name? Bolin? They might go into it. What Rafa reveals. Now, when you listen to this, it's so on point that everybody needs to hear this. So I'm going to name this lesson. I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm going to let him talk. The name of this lesson is, let's get you up to speed. Okay? Because this information, in order to understand what's going on and what will go on, you need to have this information. Because the way they present this, the way this guy presents this information, that whole anti-Semitic thing is not going to work. Because people woke up 6 years ago, you might have been able to get away with that. Now, because of what's going on, listen to this. So this is Middle Nation, May 8th, a couple of days ago. What Rafa reveals. Take it away. This brother is so articulate and so on point. This is nothing but a Jake. When he uses references and he uses television shows and he'll make a comparison, and he's so on point. And they mention that in the comments too. So take it away, Bolts or whatever.
Well, I've been saying that the Israelis, and specifically Netanyahu, had no cards left to play, no bargaining chips to use, except for the threatened assault on Rafah. Everyone was warning them not to do it. America warned against it, Europe warned against it, Germany, the UK, the UN, everyone was against it. Negotiations have largely moved outside of American jurisdiction. As I've said, ceasefire and hostage exchange negotiations are being carried out by Egypt and by Qatar and with Hamas. The Americans and the Israelis, came up with a ridiculous 40-day ceasefire proposal last week, and everyone just ignored it. Hamas agreed to a ceasefire proposal on Monday that would have secured the release of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners over 3 stages.
You got to listen to this real close because this is getting you up to speed on what happened in the last week. And it's very, very important that you know all these little details because they're not letting it out. They're only giving you, hey, anti-Semitism, man. There's a whole nother side. There's people getting killed, people losing families. There's a genocide going on. They're not saying anything about that, okay? But this guy is like the Eastern, what's his name? Scott Ritter. He's the Eastern Scott Ritter. Scott is the Western Scott Ritter. This guy is the Scott Ritter of the East, right? Now I'm going to let him say that piece again because he's telling you the things that transpired last week to get us where we are right now. Namely, that they had reached an agreement in a ceasefire. Israel says, here are the conditions for the ceasefire. The Palestinians, or whatever you want to call them, the Gaza, whatever, Hamas says, okay, we'll take that deal. And when they agreed to the deal, right, then Israel takes it off the table, reneges. You have to hear that and what happened after that. So listen close to how he's setting this up.
With Hamas, the Americans and the Israelis, came up with a ridiculous 40-day ceasefire proposal last week, and everyone just ignored it. Hamas agreed to a ceasefire proposal on Monday that would have secured the release of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners over 3 stages. It would have achieved the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza, the commencement of reconstruction, all of this over 3 stages, with each of these stages being about 42 days each, so a total of about 4 months. This would have also included a cessation of hostilities by the Houthis, by militias in Iraq, and by Hezbollah, apparently. That was also included. This is the most serious and the most realistic proposal so far.
And nobody's heard about it, okay? Because Israel took it back up. As soon as Hamas agreed to it, Israel reneged, took it back and said, oh, no. So who knows about that? You have to know these critical pieces to this puzzle to understand what's going on now, all right? In other words, it amounts to this. When they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh up upon them and they shall not escape. Ain't gonna be no peace and safety. Ain't gonna be no ceasefire, okay?
America even signaled that they were in favor of this ceasefire proposal. But almost immediately after Hamas announced their acceptance of this plan, Israel launched an attack on Rafah. They seized control of the Rafah, the border crossing, and the Philadelphia corridor, so-called, even raising the Israeli flag at the border crossing. All of this, in my opinion, is essentially the Zionists protesting the fact that they can no longer dictate the terms in the Middle East. And all they have left is violence. All they have left, the only way that they can make themselves relevant or significant in any way is to either threaten violence or commit violence. But by doing this, all they're doing is compounding the reasons why they are getting marginalized, why they are becoming obsolete. I mean, imagine. The only reason that you have a seat at the table is because if you don't have a seat at the table, you'll kill everyone. That's like making people laugh at your jokes at gunpoint. It doesn't make you funny. It makes you pathetic and dangerous. And being dangerous doesn't give you credibility. Not like it used to, anyway. I mean, we have a situation where Israel is basically saying, you have to stop accusing us of committing genocide or else we'll keep committing genocide. We will act like crazy psychopathic lunatics until you affirm that we are sane and reasonable. Well, nobody wants to deal with someone like that. Everyone, even your friends, will start to figure out ways that they can neutralize you. And I think that's what's happening. And the Zionists know it. They can sense it. They can feel it. And they have a very limited toolkit to work with.
I got a precept on that.
All they ever had was their ability to destabilize and disrupt and to sow chaos and bloodshed. And it used to be good enough. That was useful to Western power, to the Western power structure for many decades. Zionism was an asset for Western colonial power for decades, but it has become a liability. Their reaction to the ceasefire agreement, to me, shows that they really have no ideas left. The Zionists have no ideas for how to make themselves matter anymore, how to demonstrate that they have any usefulness anymore. I said that if Netanyahu invades Rafah, a full-scale attack on Rafah, he'd be shooting himself in the head. And Zionism itself would be committing suicide by attacking Rafah.
Sound like a brother, don't he? his inflection, everything.
And that gun is cocked right now and it's pointing right at their own head. If they pull the trigger, it's all over. It's all over but the cleanup. Netanyahu is having a fever dream that they can reoccupy Gaza, control the Rafah border, undermine Hamas by distributing aid themselves in the Gaza Strip, or by distributing it through Fatah, so that the people will turn away from Hamas. Like we can just replay history, replay the days after the Oslo Accords when the Palestinian Authority acted as Israel's administrator and enforcer in Gaza. By trying to take Rafah, Israel is trying to wrestle back control of the process, but it's not going to work. In my opinion, it's not going to work. I mean, it's correct in my opinion that I think no one wants Hamas to survive. Egypt doesn't want that, Saudi Arabia doesn't want that, the GCC overall doesn't want that, and I think BRICS doesn't want that. I think all of the major players would like to see Hamas eliminated, or at least diminished to the point of irrelevance. But that's not going to happen by Israel's hand.
And see, when he says stuff like that, he's playing them. He's in the middle right there. He's not choosing side. He's not on side. He's speaking truth, right, to the situation, right? Now, the devil can't see that. The devil can only see what he wants, right? And that's his lust for murder and lying about it, stealing, all right? So those things don't matter. You know, righteousness does not, yet will he not learn righteousness, all right?
Anything Israel does to try to undermine Hamas will only strengthen Hamas. You can't replay Oslo. You can't rerun that program and have and not have anyone see what you're doing. No, I think the plan is probably for Hamas and Fatah to form some sort of a unity government over Gaza and have only the Fatah side of that coalition really have any power and influence. But I doubt that that's going to be under the leadership of someone like Abu Mazen. He's going to be sidelined. But the point is, none of this is in Israel's hand anymore. And it's not even in America's hand anymore. Now, I've heard that the ongoing negotiations in Cairo now officially include officials from the CIA. And they're floating this idea of a private American security company managing the border, the Rafah-Egypt border. This is absurd, in my opinion. See, there are factions in the United States, the neocons especially, specifically, who still have not adapted to the new emerging reality of international affairs. So they think that Israel and the United States can still just rely on violence to dictate how things are going to be.
Now, see, you're not going to hear talk like that from the West. And you need to hear that other side, okay? What you're getting from the West right now is an abomination unto the Most High. A false balance is an abomination, okay? And unless you go in search of real news, right, and get both sides, and then come to a logical conclusion, right? Because both sides are lying, all right? That's part of war. Propaganda is part of war, right? The information war, info wars, like Alex Jones, all right? So you got to hear this side. You got to hear this from the side of the East because you're going to hear something different, right? And you need both sides to make to come to a logical conclusion.
They think that Israel's actions in Rafah have somehow changed the dynamics, but they haven't. At least not in the way that they think that they have.
Meaning this, we scared them motherfuckers right back into their hole, and now we're back on top again. The world is afraid of us. He's going to say the opposite. He's going to say, nah, whatever you tried to do right now, it didn't work. Nobody's afraid of you. Let the weak say I am strong.
They've changed the dynamics only by making the dynamics worse for Israel and worse for America. Wallahi, everything they do these days just isolates them further. I mean, look, the U.S. is going to sanction officials from the International Criminal Court, apparently, or they want to, congressmen want to preemptively punish them for issuing arrest warrants against Netanyahu and top officials of the Israeli cabinet,
Clown.
even though no warrants have actually been issued yet. So this rule of law, rules-based international order country, America, wants to illegally pressure and influence, wants to apply coercion to the International Criminal Court to prevent charges against genocidal criminals who everyone in the world wants to see arrested.
Your turning of things upside down. This nigga done turned it upside down. We have a criminal court to prosecute war criminals, right? But what happens when they're going to prosecute you, then you go threaten the criminal court. Ha! This is clown world. It's over. This whole thing is over.
Genocidal criminals who just rejected a ceasefire offer and responded to a ceasefire offer by attacking innocent people in Rafah. It's like America hates their own credibility at this point.
Rafah.
You know how they used to like to say about the Palestinians that they never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity? Well, that's America now. They've had opportunity after opportunity over the past 7 months to actually do the right thing, to actually live up to all their talk about justice and human rights, all the exact same things that they were saying, all the same talk that they were reciting over Ukraine. They could have backed that up with regards to Gaza. All that imaginary performative outrage over civilian casualties in Ukraine. You know, attacks on hospitals, attacks on infrastructure and what have you, not to mention all their talk about democracy and freedom and so on. They could have listened to protesters, to their own youth, to their own people protesting in the streets and now on university campuses, instead of beating them and arresting them, and instead of banning TikTok, because TikTok is providing people all around the world with accurate eyewitness accounts of what's happening in Gaza. They could have hailed that, you know, as a valuable platform for keeping people informed, a platform of free speech. But no, they want to shut it down. They could have called for a ceasefire instead of persistently vetoing ceasefire proposals at the UN. In fact, they didn't even have to go through the United Nations. They could have literally just ordered Netanyahu to stop. And if he didn't, then they could have intervened militarily, just like they would do anywhere else. If America was anything at all like what they say about themselves, if they actually believed in any of the values that they claim to believe in, then more than 35,000 Palestinians would not have been murdered. The only reason they oppose arrest warrants against the Israelis is because they're accomplices themselves. And every member of the Biden administration should be hauled before The Hague for complicity with genocide, and they know it. See, their problem is that the reality is eclipsing the narrative. The stench of Zionist savagery is overpowering the perfume that America sprays on its own reputation to...
This is the part. This is what is happening that is going to prevent their plan of anti-Semitism. They're going to do it. They're going to run. They don't have a choice. But they're going to try to use that word to make us an offender, okay? But the way people are waking up right now and seeing what these devils are doing, how they get down, oh, this is your game plan, okay? You use the word Holocaust, you use the word anti-Semitism, right? They're on to you now. So it doesn't work. The witchcraft doesn't work anymore. Listen close to what he's saying.
Should be hauled before The Hague for complicity with genocide, and they know it. See, their problem is that the reality is eclipsing the narrative. The stench of Zionist savagery is overpowering the perfume that America sprays on its own reputation to cover their own noxious odor, the stink of the fetid corpse of their so-called democratic society that died long ago, if it was ever alive to begin with. Now, you tied yourselves to Israel to the point that you can't extricate yourselves now. So now it's sinking you. Israel and the pathological obsession with colonization that fuels your bad romance with Israel is burning America's standing both globally and domestically. Your whole narrative about yourselves is getting ripped to shreds. The gown of the Statue of Liberty has been removed, and it's like that scene from The Crying Game, where everyone suddenly realizes that you weren't who you said you were. Now, America seduced the world into thinking that they're Marilyn Monroe, but they turned out to be Marilyn Manson. Nobody wants to play along anymore. Nobody sympathizes with your fatal attraction to Zionism, and no one has to put up with it anymore. Moving on, Rafah did nothing but expose the fact that Israel and America's options are completely exhausted.
Desperate.
I thought that Biden had suspended shipments of bombs to Israel, but that's not going to amount to anything with your electorate. That's like a cheating husband telling his wife that he's going to keep seeing his mistress, but he just won't send her flowers on Valentine's Day. It's too little, too late. Glenn Close has already boiled your kid's pet rabbit, and you're still trying to tell us that she's got a good heart. No, at this point, America can only do one thing to recover any credibility on the global stage, and that's to actively and aggressively stop Israel. Cutting ties, just cutting ties, isn't going to be enough at this point. You need to impose a no-fly zone over Gaza, impose more sanctions against Israel than you imposed against Russia. You need to demand immediate IAEA inspections of Israel's nuclear facilities. You need to revoke the American citizenship of every Israeli dual citizen and seize all Israeli assets in America and Europe. You need to take Netanyahu to the ICC yourself. Join the South African case at the ICJ. Ban Israeli media. Treat the Israeli flag the same way that you treat the swastika. Designate the IDF as a terrorist organization and Israel as a state sponsor of terrorism. And if that doesn't do the trick, then you need to launch a shock and awe campaign against Israel the same way that you did against Iraq, the same way you did against Libya and Afghanistan and so on, and bomb them back to the Stone Age, because that's what you do, isn't it? Isn't that supposed to be the American way? But we all know you'll never do that. And because we all know that you'll never do that, we all know that you have never meant a single word that you said. And that's why no one is ever going to listen to you again. The only thing that you can possibly do to salvage yourself is something that we all know that you will never do. So you've been found out. You've been exposed. Your cover has been blown. The audience for all your speeches about democracy and liberty and human rights are filing out of the building, and we've turned off your microphone. Or you've passed the Rubicon of hypocrisy at this point, and there's no going back now. The world is moving on, knowing what we know. And no matter how much you repeat your completely bankrupt narrative, you can't make us unknow what we know about you. America is a train wreck that collided with a dumpster fire, and you're trying to put that fire out with oil and plutonium, and everyone wants to get as far away from you as possible.
Boom. Now, let me say this, okay? You absolutely, in order to get on that chariot, okay, you must have spiritual discernment, okay? So when I watch this guy is speaking, I'm cheering, I'm out of my seat, right? I'm shaking my fist, I'm like, yeah, right? But in between now and the spaceships, the chariots, between now and then, you must exercise diligently spiritual discernment. So as much as I like this guy, I have to step back and say, is this guy controlled opposition? Okay? And what does that mean? Oh, well, I'm going to repost this, and they're watching me. Right? So if you go repost some crazy shit like I saw this guy, what's his name? This guy. Not him. It's this guy. What's his name? Is Nick Fuentes. He's supposed to be a Trump clone, right?
Lightweight pop-up campers.
But Nick Fuentes, let me get this out of the way. In this, went after the Jujus, right? So you can't have it both ways. What is, you're going against your president there, vice president. Fuentes is, I believe he's trying to get Trump's eye for or whatever. So anyway, yeah. Well, let me go ahead and close this. I did want to bring out a precept. Let's see. What is it? Thought I had it. Here it is. Nope, that's not it. It's Revelation what? thought I had it. Let's go. I think it's 16. Um. Oh, it's Obadiah Salak. It's Obadiah. Where is it? Must be way over here. Obed. Obadiah 1 and 7. We'll read King James first. Now here's what's going on. All right, because he mentioned it. He said, right now, Israelis are worried that all of their allies figured them out. Now they got to, including the United States. We got to back the fuck up off of you for a minute, right? Here's what's going on according to the script. The whole script of the movie called The Scriptures, okay? Obadiah 1 and 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in him. Let's read it in the NIV. All your allies will force you to the border. Your friends will deceive you and overpower you. That's what's going on right now, right? Qatar, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, UAB, or what is it? UAE, United Arab Emirates. All your allies will force you to the border. Your friends will deceive you and overpower you. Those who eat your bread will set a trap for you, but you will not detect it. This is what's going on right now. All your allies will turn against you. They will help chase you from what is not your land, right? This is talking about the big Satan and the little Satan. They will promise you peace while plotting to deceive and destroy you. That's what they're doing. That's what those Arabs are over there doing right now. They're coming back together. Your trusted friends will set traps for you, and you won't even know about it, right? The Arabs are coming back together. And if they shall turn themselves, right? They're turning themselves right now. They're burying, they say, well, we have to put down the Shiite Sunni war right now. We got to come together and we got to get these devils. Okay? And they're keeping it a secret. They're setting a trap. And the devil don't even know about it. Okay? And it's all explained right here. I suggest you go back and watch this without my interruptions because it makes a lot more sense, right? But this gets you up to speed on where we are right now, right? This is 2 days ago. They're over there bombing and conducting a sacrifice to their God, killing children and women, right? And a blood sacrifice over there, if you look at it for what it is. Anyway, so with that, we're going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and close. We hope that the elect are edified. Stay tuned. Shalom.